Like everybody else, I had a list of accomplishments for 2020. We applied for the hazard mitigation grant and compiled a Siren implementation schedule. Didn't ask for any money this year for Sirens because we anticipated that the grant would be awarded a little bit sooner than it has been. It's still on the shelf and still pending. I think the plan is, as funds allow, every other year we'll apply for one of these grants, and every other year in between we'll ask for money for one siren. The siren system that we have is old. Probably the biggest problem we have with it is it doesn't have near the coverage that it used to, volume-wise, and they're all hooked up to electricity. If a storm comes through, knocks out the electricity, there's no way for us to activate the siren. All the new ones are run off batteries. Due to the age of our fleet, we've always had a surplus, a large number of vehicles that sat around waiting to be used as pool cars because we would have 2 or 3 or 4 of them go down each week. We've gotten all of those surplus at this point. We just sent out the renewal contracts for dispatching services to all the agencies that we contract with, which is Erie Volunteer Fire Department and Paid Fire Department in Logan County, and 2 police agencies. The VOCA grant that we have, it brings in money to the city, and that's great and that's wonderful, but it's always been kind of complicated to get a grasp on. We've been able to track those numbers way more effectively and efficiently so that everybody's on the same page. The evidence room, we're still working on it. It takes a while to purge the old stuff out of there because we have to have court orders for a bunch of that stuff. A lot of what we didn't need court orders for has already been taken care of. We put 2 cameras on the inside, 2 cameras on the outside. We bought a shelf last year that allowed us to increase our storage capabilities by 1/3. We've got an actual evidence refrigerator inside there. We continue to work towards updating our policies. We've got 52 policies in front of the Fraternal Order of Police right now for their input. One thing that slowed us down a little bit is COVID. They have not had their regular routine meetings all year. The ammunition inventory was complete quite a while back as the council instructed. We now have new rules on how we give it out, how we track it, and by the end of the year, each fiscal year, you'll have a new updated inventory. One of the problems we run into when we do our budget every year is all of our money, all of our expenditures go through a single person. Sometimes they don't end up hitting the account that they should, so it makes it very hard to track at the end of the year. So we've been working the last 2 years trying to have all that streamlined so everybody's on the same page and we know actually how much money belongs in a line item instead of hunting and pecking all over a budget. We also identified that we take in a fair amount of money through the communication center, and there was no rules, regulations, or anything that told them how to handle that money, so we got that fixed. For next year, we're going to continue our work on the evidence room. One of the problems that we have is the evidence lockers where we drop evidence now is old, is putting it nicely. Barely functional is putting it nicely. We're going to do more policies this year, work with the FOP, hopefully with COVID. It just depends. We're working with them as we should. Again, we'll do another, at least one random audit next year of the evidence room. We're changing our sights on our handguns. We're going to train 1/3 of our people on that. We're making less lethal alternatives available to more personnel. Watch the news today. That's a very important thing. It always has been, and now we are addressing it more aggressively. Resume training, offer not less than 3 classes. We're going to repair our target system at the range. We're going to repair the tower. We're tired of people falling through the floor. We've applied for money to begin an emergency medical dispatching program, which is not cheap. If we get that money, we'll get everybody trained and up and running on it. Crisis intervention training, our goal ultimately is to have 100% of the department trained in that. It helps when responding to mental health calls, especially in people that are excited. Our goal is to get 40% of those done this year. We're moving out a new load-bearing vest system instead of the traditional uniform. All the studies indicate that this saves an officer's back and hips over the lifetime of their career, which ultimately results in a savings for the city when it comes to work comp and hours lost from duty. The top needs that I see, we've got to address the storm siren network at some time. Roughly, it's going to be $500,000. Like I said, it's not all at once, and unless you all change how we have it planned right now, we're hoping that we get a grant to cover every other year, and we're hoping that maybe the city can come up with the funds the years in between until we get all of them fixed or repaired or at least make a dent in it. Our radios, there's a mandate put out by the federal government, and our radios have long been obsolete. Chief Harlow's been a little bit better getting grants for the fireside to replace a bunch of his. We have had none. State's going to pay for $27,000 of that, at least right now, which is good for me, good for the city. Obviously, the hope is that we continue the fleet rotation at roughly 2 vehicles a year. There's no plans to do that next year because we did 3 this year. Our hope is to work with Tenney and get the rifle range moved at the gun range. Right now, when you shoot your rifle, you're shooting across the road that comes into the range. It's just a tragic accident that's waiting to happen. Everybody's out of room, including us, and so we hope to purchase a couple of storage containers, probably place out at the range in unusable land, and go from there.